Okay, so before we get started tonight, I am going to turning it over to our Book of Accomplishments Committee, Yungwa Wenio, and they're going to start us off.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you're all here. So today, tonight we're here to celebrate our graduates from 2021 and 2022. As you all know, we've been dealing with the pandemic for the last few years. We found this would be a great opportunity to give recognition to our graduates that didn't have the all out get on the stage and see that someone before. So tonight, just give you a brief background on the Book of Accomplishments book. What happened? It was created with a group, former chief Troy Thompson and myself, and decided that there's individuals out there or groups that need to be recognized for all their hard work, their dedication, and their goals that they have reached in their lives. And our first book of accomplishment was New Life Hopes, honored by Germany in 1918. So tonight I want to hand over the mic and let them say a few words. I'd like to thank everybody for speaking tonight and for coming to sign the book. I'd just like to let you know that if anyone wasn't able to make it tonight to sign the book will be available at admin 1 for the next 2 weeks for you to come down and to sign the book.
So as Chief April mentioned, we want to recognize our graduates because we recognize the fact that school in general over the last 3 years has been very, to say the least, challenging with the pandemic that we're currently in. We know things have gotten a lot better with this last year, but we wanted to recognize the hard work, the dedication, and the courage that it took to finish out school in what I would say is one of our least unexpected, one probably not more, we'll never see it in our lifetime, this type of pandemic. So as a group and on behalf of council, we'd like to congratulate the graduates of 2020, 2021, and 2022.
So at this time, we'd like to invite our graduates up to sign the book.
You guys are more than welcome to take it.
So congratulations to all our graduates from 2020, 2021, and 2022. We're going to call tonight's council meeting to order. We're going to do council attendance, council agenda acceptance, the rules of order, any action item follow-up. We'll have a presentation on the Quebec French Language Act, Bill 96. Update from the Department of Health on COVID. Update from the Department of Justice on the legislative priorities for 2022, 2023. Business from the floor. Resolution to accept general meeting minutes for April 28th. Announcement in regards to the general meeting status for the summer months and an adjournment. So our council attendance, Grand Chief Abram Benedict, Chief Edward Rompoint, Chief Tim Thompson are all on travel today, and Chief Cindy Francis Mitchell had to send her regrets for today. Moment of silence first. So we have had a lot of deaths since our last general meeting, so I'm going to ask everyone to observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Our general agenda acceptance, can I, Julie, and a seconder, Ryan. Okay. All in favor? Everybody, none against? Carried. So I'm going to go over the rules of order next. General meetings are held on the last Thursday of each month and will occur in each district on a rotating basis between Gawanoga, Penobscot, and Akwesasne. The exception to this is when the general meeting cancellation protocol, MCR 2015-2016, number 260, in the unfortunate circumstance where a community member passes in one of the three districts, the meeting will occur as a regularly scheduled in the other two districts where the member did not reside. A moment of silence will also be taken in their memory. The general meetings are an opportunity for community members to hear information from council and assist council with issues that affect the community. The following general meeting rules were originally developed at a community general meeting in July of 2006. The principles for general meeting rules is based on respect for each other, and all attendees are expected to behave respectfully and professionally at all times. The meeting rules, and there's 5 of them. Number 1, meetings will start at 6 p.m. Proceed to a maximum of 8 p.m., at which point the community will be asked if they choose to continue past 8 p.m. Personal issues will not be dealt with in a public forum general meeting. Personal items can be dealt with on an individual basis with council members or by appointment through the Mohawk government office. If you have a question or comment during the meeting, raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged by the chairperson. The chairperson will keep note of the order that community members indicate to be acknowledged. Please keep the questions and comments relevant to the point of order within the agenda and be considerate of the time used. And a list will be made of issues you wish to address to council. And if the answer cannot be provided at the current meeting, the issue will be taken back to council table for further discussion and follow-up. Okay. So first thing is action items. However, we have no action items to carry over from the meeting in April. So we're going to go to our first presentation, the Quebec French Language Act, Bill 96.
in Quebec is limited. Students attended designated English college will be required to take classes in French in order to graduate. Obtain a declaration of eligibility to receive instruction in English from the Quebec government would protect students from education requirements imposed on non-anglophone residents of Quebec who choose to attend an English college. Alternately, Akwesasne can seek to receive an instruction at an institution in Ontario or the state of New York. Corporations referred to legal persons in Quebec are required to produce certified French translations of pleadings drawn up in English. The English person is responsible for the translation costs associated with the translation. Continued. Oral and written communication with the Quebec government. The requirement of Bill 96 may complicate the preparation and signature of contracts. Representatives of the Quebec government may in the future insist on speaking French to satisfy the requirements to promote the use of French, the explanatory conduct. Exemption for Indian reserves. Exemptions exist for and where a legal person, corporations situated on reserve, those practicing their profession in Quebec solely on reserve, health, public safety, or the principles of natural justice so apply, providing services to Aboriginal persons, agreements related to Native affairs. If you need any translations, should you receive any French language document, translation services are available. You can contact Natalie Jacobs, our liaison officer at Mohawk Government, 613-575-2250, extension 2165, or natalie.jacobs@akwesasne.ca. Yeah. For free.
Do we have any questions on that presentation?
So overall, the implications to Akwesasne are minor. Because of the exemptions, it shouldn't affect us. Shouldn't notice really any difference.
It was noted at our meeting that when the Quebec entourage came down for the policing and the amount of money that was given to the police, that the whole presentation was done in French. So if that is going to happen from now on, anything that has to do with Quebec, that they will speak the French language, even though we don't speak it on reserve. We speak our own language at the, our language and English. We still have two languages in Akwesasne. So we don't have a third language, which is French. So maybe they can respect our community and only speak what we understand. And I just want to know why that presentation, that meeting went on when there was no interpreter to tell you, council, what was being said, unless you understand French.
No, and that was an issue when we had that set up. That was a what's it called? Press conference that was set up by the outside, and I believe that was a, how would you say, Shannon, a oversight in the fact that well, I'm not going to say oversight because that's not the right word. They know darn well that we don't speak French. We did speak with the chief of police afterwards, informing him that it was very disrespectful to come to our territory and to have the minister speak only in French. Minister, what's his name? Ian Lafreniere was very respectful where he spoke English, but the other lady, I don't even know her name, because she spoke so fast I couldn't even catch her name, was only French. So we did address it at that level, and we will continue to address it. That was something that was set up again, mostly through the EA with Ian's EA, the minister's EA, and the the police department. So that was an oversight on our part, not having more say in how it was conducted. We were just as shocked as you were to hear all of that and not know what they were saying. I know that the chief of police did try to translate all that, what was being said, because I'm sure he could feel the glares from each and every council member that was there that was, saying, why is this all in French? So, but that is something that we will for sure look into correcting the next time that we have anything like that come to Akwesasne.
So with that, we're gonna happen again with the meeting stop and say it's no longer going to be, we're gonna reschedule until we get our own interpreter. And because I think that was not only disrespectful to council, but also to the community of Akwesasne.
yeah.
To think that anybody can come in our community and do what they want, speak how they want.
Yeah.
But yet we can't go over there and we're looked down upon, speak French.
Yeah, and it just so happened that our interpreter, Natalie Jacobs, had been called away that day. She was home sick with her daughter or one of her children, so she wasn't able to be there. That, from my understanding, was supposed to be her role in the press conference. So it was set up, but it was just a matter of fact that she wasn't able to make it. So yes, we will definitely be working on that in the next one and making sure that that does not happen. Sarah?
So basically, are you saying you're hoping to put protocol in place?
Right.
Visits?
Yeah.
Well, are all around the country. Whose land this is when they come here? The ministers and the French people, when they come here, we have to inform them that this is our land.
Correct, yep, we have to inform them, yes. And that's why we had Grand Chiefs do the initial welcome and all that. I'm sure that wasn't put on the right on the TV, but Grand Chiefs did do a welcoming and saying that this was where they were and that they were in Akwesasne. No, French will not be on top. On the outside, they can do what they want, but here in Akwesasne, it will be Mohawk and English.
Okay, next we have our COVID update from the Department of Health portfolio.
Oh, sorry, it's not my mic.
You can stay up here, it's the Sarah show. Good evening, everyone. Our update from the Department of Health. So this is for June 2022. A COVID-19 update, COVID-19 vaccine primary and booster clinic is on June 29th at Akwesasne from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. by appointment. Community with a positive COVID-19 antigen test are encouraged to self-report to the community health program for isolation guidance. Contact community health for available COVID-19 PCR testing on Tuesdays from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And the number to reach them is 613-575-2341, extension 3220. There are free at-home antigen testing kits while supplies last. 3-point testing is advised. That means home rapid tests should be used. The swab should be used for throat, cheek, both nostrils. These can be picked up at Akwesasne. Community health members are encouraged to continue to follow public health guidelines as directed, social distancing, washing and sanitizing hands frequently, and wearing masks in public. Holistic health and wellness, Akwesasne Medical Clinic, Owenoga Medical Clinic, providers are accepting patients within facilities. Public health guidelines continue to be followed. Long-term care vaccination policy updated April 2022, MCA number 038.
On June 8th, 2022, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health announced that provincial mask requirements in hospitals and other indoor settings expired as of June 11th. However, provincial guidance continues to recommend masking in acute care settings, and that organizations are encouraged to implement their own rules and policies related to masking. The Mohawk Council of Akwesasne mask mandate remains in effect and will continue until June 30th, the end of the school year. Masks must be worn correctly within Mohawk Council of Akwesasne facilities. Masking will also continue to be required at the Eastern Ontario Health Unit offices in the clinic it holds in our community. Cornwall Community Hospital to continue mask requirement. This means even after June 11th, anyone entering the hospital will still be required to wear a medical grade mask. Medical grade masks are provided to anyone entering Cornwall Community Hospital. As a hospital, we have a duty to care for and protect our patients, staff, and communities. We know masks are made of the most simple and effective tools to prevent the spread of COVID-19, a virus which could be devastating to our high-risk patients, explained Jeanette Despetti, Cornwall Community Hospital President and Chief Executive Officer. We understand that infection control measures, including masking requirements, may be frustrating. However, we ask that individuals remain polite and respectful, as Despetti. Our current vaccination stats. The total vaccines given, 8,216, includes individuals who have received doses through Mohawk Council of Akwesasne and the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe Health Services. May 26, 2022 were those stats. From the ages of 5 to 11, the first dose, 81, that's 8% of our population. The second dose, ages 18 plus, 3,236, that's 41% of our population. Our enrolled members, I should say, not population. Second dose from ages 12 to 17 is 232, 27% of our enrolled members. From our second dose, ages 5 to 11, 65, 7%. The third dose, ages 18 plus, 1,263, 16%. 16 to 17 years of age, 33, 4%. The fourth dose, 18 plus, 62, 1%. MCA COVID-19 monitor. Cases as of June 13, 2022. Current positive cases, 5. COVID-related passings, 14. Community COVID-19 updated is generally reported on Mondays, reflecting the previous week's stats. On June 30th, Mohawk Council's Emergency Operations Center will shift to partially activation and relocate to the Akwesasne Mohawk Police Service Building. The EOC remains available to assist council, departments, programs in the community of COVID-19 pandemic response. The mask mandate MCR 165 limit to hiring to non-vaccinated individuals in the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne COVID-19 immunization policy to be reassessed on June 30th. Thank you. Any questions, concerns? Once.
Does that mean that you're not allowing unvaccinated individuals in any of the facilities, high-risk facilities like to long-term care facilities?
Yeah, as long as they're masked, then they.
So they can be unvaccinated but still enter, is that what you're saying?
No.
It follows the ministry guidelines, so I don't know, Sarah, if you can repeat the question for those that are on Zoom.
The question was, community members that are unvaccinated able to go to Jigunusibe and Yakisata
Or employees.
or employees? I don't, I'm not sure. I'll have to get the DOH, but I don't think so. I'm not quite sure, so let me get back to you on that. We'll put it as an action item.
Yeah, because whatever the ministry says, because it's their licensed facilities, that's what we go by, but I'm just not sure if it's changed. They change sometimes daily, so it's hard to know what they're at this moment.
So do we just, as like with the facilities, just use their recommendations as guidelines and create their own policy?
Yes.
Irregardless what the outside says, if we create our own, it should stand.
It should stand, yes.
Not in licensed facilities. We have to follow what the ministry says. So if the ministry right now says that we can't allow people unvaccinated in, then we have to say that unvaccinated people cannot go in. I just can't answer your question as to whether that's what the rule is right now or not. But I know that we have to follow what the ministry says.
So let's just use your scenario, what you just said, okay? And the ministry says that no unvaccinated people are not allowed in the facility, including employees. But you as an employer has employees that are unvaccinated. Are they allowed to go back to work?
The long-term care facilities as well as the daycare follow ministry guidelines. So the stricter of the two, so the safer option is what we would follow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
One wants to proceed.
Thank you.
We will put it on as an action item though, and get that straight answer for you. We'll
Thank
get it
you.
clarified.
Everybody's good? Okay. So our next update is the Department of Justice legislative priorities for 2022 and 2023.
Hello, man. It's me again, Margaret. So back in April, we did a survey out to the community by the Legislative Commission, the Legislative Oversight Committee. And in that survey, the results, we asked people to say what they wanted to be, what they wanted the council and the, or not council, sorry, the Legislative Oversight Committee to work on for the next year. The results of that survey, as a result from that survey, let's see, I should start. I'll get us all lost. So the OSC has a mandate to deliver 3 laws annually: a new law, a law in draft form, and a law to be amended. A survey to obtain options from the community, organization, MCA directors, and government on what laws to prioritize for the fiscal year 2022-2023 was shared for a period of April 19th to May 9th of this year. So Mohawk Council of Akwesasne has approved the MCR 2022/2023 number 069 for the legislative priorities based on the survey results, which are as follows. The new law will be the child rights law. Law in draft will be the fire code law. Law to be amended will be the residency law. Updates on the law development process will be continue to be provided, and any further information on those laws can be obtained by the Justice Coordinator in the Justice Department. I also wanted to give an update to you all, kind of went backwards from the slide, but on the 3 laws that we've been working on over the last 3 years and where they're at. So on April 4th, the OSC issued a press release in providing an update on the Oversight Committee on Legislative Development on the working task groups that work on development of three Akwesasne laws, namely the cannabis law, the emergency management law, and the Akwesasne election law amendments. The cannabis law has recently had its legal review completed in accordance with the LEPR, which is the legislative, I forget those acronyms. Anyway, it's the procedure rights. Once the legal review has concluded, a line-by-line review will be conducted with council. This is anticipated for early July. Phase 2, council will accept the draft law in principle, moving the law to phase 3, the community consultation and engagement. We hope to schedule the 3 community engagement sessions by the end of July or early August. The draft law will then be printed and distributed to community mailboxes. Please note that notices will be provided of session dates and times and locations, and please monitor social media and India Time for updates. The emergency management law is now in its legal review. Once completed, the working task group will convene to continue their work and get it onto those next stages as the cannabis law is currently in. The Akwesasne election law amendments, the working task group has been working on certain sections of the law, namely composition of council, candidate eligibility criteria, and terms of office. The work has been completed and has been moved to the Oversight Committee to formally request the legal review. So, and just to reassure the community, no one on council is part of the Akwesasne election law amendment task group. The working task group that's working on that has no council involvement, as that will be a conflict of interest. Is there any questions? Cheryl.
Who's the law firm or lawyer conducting this legal review?
The question was, who are we using for the legal review on the laws? Bonnie Cole is being used for the cannabis law and the emergency management law. And I believe Nathan Richard is going to be used for the election law amendments when it gets to that phase.
Question, the survey, can we get the results of that survey? Because I know it was kind of, they had to print it out, mark it, scan it, and send it back in email. So I would like to know how many actually participated, because the last couple of times we had a community survey, I believe CK went with that one. So
We got 39. I know that off the top of my head because it's engraved there. We got 39 responses, and that's where these came from. Any other questions?
Just out of curiosity, what entails a child rights law?
The reasoning for the child rights law is because right now the government of Canada has set a child's law. There's legislation that the government has put in place as a children's law. And within that law, it says that we are able to write our own laws to pertain to our own children. So the reasoning behind having that type of law is so that, especially in a place like Akwesasne where we have 3 jurisdictions, 2 borders, and the list of our complications, is so that we can write a law that would be fair to all of our children. We can write a law that has culturally relevant situations in it, and we can write a law that has the input of the community. Where Canada writes their law and they say this is what the law is going to be, and a lot of times when legislation comes about from Canada, it doesn't fit Akwesasne. Nothing ever fits Akwesasne because we are not a puzzle to be place things in. So where we are able and competent and we have the ability to write our own law for our jurisdictions. Is there any other questions? Okay, there's a question online.
Who enforces current residency law? Has it been used?
So the questions are, who enforces the residency law now?
Has it been used yet?
Has it been used?
And how will laws be enforced?
How will laws be enforced? The current residency law, from my knowledge, and anybody here can help me out because I'm not an expert in it. although, We have the compliance officer that we now have, currently we only have one compliance officer that works with ants. And that person would be like our like a bylaw officer that would serve anything that that is against the residency law would be served by those people, by our compliance officers.
Has it been used yet?
Yes, the residency law has been applied and used within the community.
And how will laws be enforced?
That's how our laws are. Laws are enforced by people following them, and if they don't follow them, then we have to call on our police department and our compliance officer to help to us to uphold them. So we really call on the community members to help us in making sure that our community laws are followed.
So when someone makes a complaint or an observation and reports it, is it a verbal or is it a written? And do they sign their name to that before it becomes investigated?
So anything that, the question is, if anybody puts in a complaint, does it have to be verbal or written? And do they have to sign their name to it? To my knowledge, everything has to be written, whether written and submitted to either the membership board, and then it would go from there to the compliance officers.
Yeah, and also think for it to carry any authority as a complaint, it has to be signed. And the membership board is bound by confidentiality once those come in. To be disclosed. Who filed a complaint, just so that they be followed up. It's a pretty double-edged sword process. I understand the fear of retaliation could possibly happen. So we have to protect the individuals that want these laws being upheld. So in that sense, so confidentiality is going to be carried out 100% in order for people to buy in to what we're trying to do on with non-resident permanent people, individuals living in our territory. Now,
Was there any other questions on that update?
So the question was, in the election law, what is it they're trying to change? Is that the question? The election law, from the thing we got, the things that they're looking at are the composition of council, candidate eligibility criteria, and the term of office. If something's not clear and if somebody challenges it, you mean, should our courts decide? Council does not make the decision. The courts would make a decision if the law is challenged.
Especially a voting law, because we're the ones voted in, so it's a conflict for us to have any influence on that. Right now, the court is, the Justice Department is the one reviewing it.
Oh, he means like, why isn't the court making a decision to change the laws that need to be changed?
The three Well, the priorities are set, so community has input.
So is it order of community as to which laws we want changed? Is that how it happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the survey.
That's okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that was the survey.
Yeah, so survey went out and community chose which laws.
To my understanding, right now, we only have one person doing that. So that's why we choose 3 laws. So they have time throughout the year to amend 3 laws. We give the community that input so they can choose which laws they think should be a priority in Akwesasne. Cheryl?
The law enactment process provides for the opportunity when laws are to be amended. It provides the opportunity for that process to take place and reaches the amendment process, identifying the sections and the community is saying would like to see changed. To take a law to court and challenge it, it would be based on the action of what you did in the law to challenge a section of the law, saying, we don't believe the outcome of this section of the law is correct. Then you take that incident or situation, you challenge that in the court, and the court, our court, can make a decision based on the section you are challenging. But the amendment process surfaces from the law enactment process to which they followed and which they've identified in these 2 points. That's how it's working. Law enactment process. It's existed for 25 years, and it's been, that process itself may have been amended maybe once, something like that, right?
Joan, and then,
Sorry.
Joan and then Philip.
Can you explain what composition of council means?
The members per district composition is how many are in each district, how it's made. The question was what the composition of council is.
Sorry.
Philip?
Question is, we in its committees, are they involved with that? Because they've been working on it since 1999 to tweak the election law. And in 2012, they actually did a very comprehensive community survey, which asked 48 plus questions on what the community wants modified or edited. And that was a very comprehensive survey. And then there was one about 6 years ago that was poorly rolled out, and that was kind of biased, and so I just, is those being taken into consideration?
So the question is whether or not the past surveys have been taken into consideration when dealing with the amendments of the election law. The answer is yes, they have. From the information and the updates that we received, they have gone through all of those documents, and that is where they pulled the three things that they're working on out of. So we all know that in the past, since I've been on council in 2006, this law has come to the community a number of times, and it has been turned down a number of times because of 1 or 2 issues within the law. So we're trying to think outside the box and looking at how can we have the community vote on the law, but you're voting on the different composition, you're voting on the different questions. So one would be composition of council. If you agree that it should be 10 instead of 4, then you would vote yes. If you agree that the term should only be 2 years, then you would vote on that. So that way, it's like 3 parts would be voted on, and then it will be decided by that, and we may actually get an amendment to the law.
Philip, does that help?
Yes. Question of people who don't reside in the districts. They resolve with that?
That's a question for the working group when they come out to the community.
Okay, because otherwise those who don't live in the districts are disenfranchised.
Yep. So a question on the chat is my wife witnessed AMPS officer attend a residence and the guy they were looking for, who was gardening when they pulled in, ran into the house and didn't open the door. What makes this law more enforceable? I think it's about residency. I think with the, our passing with the 4 justices, what was that, May, the May meeting? We had the swearing in of our 4 new justices. I think this is gonna give our laws a little bit more teeth. We're gonna have a court here in Akwesasne that things can be decided here in our community. And I think that's gonna be something that's gonna help make these laws more enforceable. That's what we're working towards. That's what council, justice, everybody's working towards making those laws more enforceable so we can better govern ourselves. I hope that helps. Yes.
Yes.
No, we have 4. We have 4 new justices of the peace that were sworn in at our May general meeting, and May or April. But hopefully that means we're gonna have court on both Quebec and Ontario, not just the island anymore. Oh, go ahead.
Just the question was whether or not we're going to have court in Quebec as well as in Ontario, and the answer is yes. Our last report in our justice portfolio was that court will be taking place at Yohio in the near future, as well as on Port. I believe they're trying to get somewhere in St. Regis too. I just can't remember offhand where it would be.
Cheryl?
Just a comment on the comment you just made about strengthening of our laws. I agree to a certain point to what you said. It's more contingent upon the enforcement aspect of it to come from our local law enforcement agency to enforce those laws, then bring it to our court. And the decisions of our court then follow the strengthening of it. But it's got to start at the grassroots and our policing agency enforcing the laws that they are called upon by community members who are going to give a written complaint or whatever to act.
Right.
Just limit it.
I think are we hiring more bylaw officers? So we are hiring a second bylaw officer, and hopefully that will give us the ability to really focus on those bylaws and Mohawk Council.
Can the Akwesasne Mohawk police enforce like MCA bylaws, or is it only bylaw officers that?
No, AMPS should be able to as well. The question was whether AMPS could enforce it or only the bylaw officers, but it's AMPS as well.
Compliance now falls under AMPS too. So they were under justice previously, so with some of the restructuring of the organization might help with the enforcement process too, because they're teamed up together.
Okay, Joe?
I read an article, and the chief of police said in that article that he will tell his officers under him, he will tell them what to do, not they do what they're supposed to. He will tell them. So to me, that's like it doesn't matter if you say, yeah, AMPS is going to enforce community laws, because basically that's what it was back whenever. And now this new guy comes in and says, no, I will tell them what to do. So it's kind of like a wish-wash. Are they gonna, or are they not gonna? Is it just gonna be compliance, or is the chief of police gonna say, no, you don't enforce those laws, you're only gonna do this?
So I think, actually, I know within that, the chief of police, when he says that I will tell them what they have to enforce. In the past, historically, we've had officers that don't believe that our laws have any kind of
teeth. They don't have any teeth. They can apply, they can, give them 1 million tickets and yet it has nothing. So when he says that statement, I don't believe that he's saying, that I'm gonna tell them which ones they can do. He's saying they need to, when we've had conversations with him, he said they need to apply the community laws as well as the other laws. So that there shouldn't be a choice, right? When you're an officer and and you're in a community and somebody does something that breaks the law, they should be charged. So that's the idea behind, I believe, what he's saying is that, it's hard to interpret somebody else's words, but that's how I take it, is that we need to, or he is telling them, it doesn't matter if it's a community law, it doesn't matter if it's an outside law, it needs to apply if they have broken that law. A lot of times in the community, if an officer has come upon, let's say somebody speeding, and they're given a ticket under one of our laws, they're caught again the next week speeding, and the next week, okay? Then they may be given a provincial ticket, because that ticket has more teeth than ours does. That ticket will go against their license. That ticket has to be paid. And that is something that on the justice end of things we've been working on for a number of years, is trying to get that reciprocity when it comes to outside agencies, or like our tickets on the outside. So if you got a ticket, let's say here for speeding under one of ours, that it would be recognized by the Ontario Ministry of Transportation as a ticket. So when that individual goes and tries to renew their license, it would say, oh, just like you do now, if you have a parking ticket or something that's outstanding and you go to renew your license, you have to pay those before you can get your license. Those are the types of things that we're working on within justice to get that recognition of our laws, so that when a ticket is given by our amps under our laws, it will have that teeth in order for that individual to have to pay for it. Right now, you all know, all we really have is the good standing policy. And that's basically what's being used to get people to pay court bills and pay, things that they owe within that organization.
Is that successful?
It's pretty successful in the realm of that. We would like people to just do it on merit. You pay to hold back anything in order to get to give a person something, but that's the only thing right now that we have. So that's why we're working with the reciprocity of our laws with Quebec and Ontario.
Anything else on legislative priorities? Okay. Next, we're going to go to business from the floor. Cheryl?
About 2 months ago or so, we presented, and I sat in the Zoom section, we presented the budgets for FY 22. Do any of you recall what Enbridge has approved since the 20-year agreement has been in place? Top of your head, do you recall where we're at that right now?
I don't.
How much money is there in that pot?
I don't remember.
20-year agreement, anybody remember when it was signed? Should be interest accruing on it also.
I believe that was signed during our 2006, 2009 year of term, right, Cheryl? So I think it was in that time that was had come to signature. But I don't know offhand what it's approved, but we can put that down as a follow-up item and have that for the next meeting for sure.
Thank you.
Oh, and the question was, what was the Enbridge? How much has the Enbridge fund approved since we signed the agreement?
Philip?
Question. How does MCA as an organization doing before there was already some floating around and very just get it stronger. How's the organization doing? Because if the organization isn't healthy, the community suffers. And just wanting to make sure like what the organization's mentally, socially, physically, because I know there was talks in the very beginning that there would be things put in place to ensure that essential services are met, but as well as ensuring that the staff of the organization is healthy. Now that there's kind of 2 weeks past, 2 years past, it's everybody is real ragged, I assume. And is there a way to kind of really look after your employees because they also majority are community members? So, inspiration.
That's a good one. So the question presented was, hold on, Ryan, I'll just announce the question. And so the question was, how is the organization physically, mentally, spiritually? How is the working atmosphere and things of that nature? Chief Ryan?
Yep, so to address the question, currently, there hasn't been a new policy set in place to help with the people getting access to mental health. Sort of asking about the morale and odds of people.
I know there were questions in the past that there will be a community or an employee survey that is kind of check in with their mental state, where they feel they are within the organization. But I haven't heard anything to that extent ever happening. And the last thing I want is people quitting, which seems to be what I keep on hearing. People are shifting focus. It's just not a healthy place to be at.
Okay, yeah, good question. I think you're referring to a turnover rate, and that is happening across a lot of job markets. People are switching careers and things like that. But in terms of MCA, we do have new leadership in place in our administration, and I believe she is doing a great job in paying attention to things such as this. So we will be we're developing a communication strategy currently, and so that way we can address anything that comes up. So hearing about things like this, the concern for our health of our organization is certainly it is something we're paying attention to, and the administration is aware, and they are going to be preparing the plan for it.
I know that there was a employee survey, and the results weren't very pretty, and it got shut off. So just to ensure that council after first year in, you're aware of things like that, just ensuring that employees not just serve the community, but you're also extension of the community. So just helping to ensure that they're looked at, especially with COVID.
Yes, thank you.
I just wanted to, sorry for interrupting. To my understanding, there has been an establishment of a workplace wellness committee. So that's something that has been.
So we do have our employee assistance program that we run through MCA, where the employee can, take time and see mental health therapists, go traditional nursing group, or any other avenue that's being within that criteria. We also have our new acting director and Steve Mark. She has been conducting tea with the executive director, and she has a social background. She's been sitting with our employees over a period of since April, and just having conversations with employees and to see what's going on with them. It's just a private conversation. So I think we're slowly moving into a nice, we still have parent rants there, and we have different avenues that they can happen. And as of recently, our mental health therapist, we have Melissa Jacobs and Juanita Noble Oaks that have offered their services. And there were a few more. Brandon David was in holistic health and wellness also. So, of course, there's services with Peter Ladd also that they utilize. I know it's been a difficult time for everyone, and everyone had their ups and downs, and it's, I think across the board, everyone has been feeling, and everywhere you turn to, or everyone in different organizations have been going through this same issue of staff turnover, staff burnout, and I'm just really happy at this time to say, we're easing off on. Hopefully finally, and I hope that get back into the rhythm of things, because we went from shutting the doors and not talking to anyone, and then having to work at home or having to work in the office and not really, mingle with anyone to get back into the workforce. So I have hopes, positive thoughts that we're moving forward to a better direction.
So I just wanted to add, a few months ago, we did a call out for different organizations outside of MCA. We were able to ask for their ideas on healing, and they were able to submit their proposals to receive some funding to help out their organizations that they provide services for free, because we do understand that not everybody wants to walk in Akwesasne and go and walk in to see a mental health therapist or go see an addictions therapist, especially if they're working in that same building. So we do understand that not only our staff, the community has the right to choose and go to the healer of their choice and to seek that healing, because that's very personal. It's something that is very important. It's very personal to the individuals, and we would like to, provide funding for those organizations to make their jobs a little bit easier. There were different ones in the community that were funded, ranging from, I believe, the midwives and to grief services. I believe that we should be doing another call out to provide those services to our community members. Thank you.
Cheryl?
So with this workplace wellness committee that's been established, whatever their mandate might be, I'd like to recommend that whatever their mandate is, that they consider, because under law, we're required as an organization to have workplace health and safety committees. Under the workplace health and safety committees, mental health category that has jumped to the forefront across Canada under legislation, that workplace health and safety committees have undertaken some reviews of the impacts in organizations, and in the absence of policies, that policies need to be worked out, also captured, covering some of these areas. But I just want to recommend that whoever is connected to the workplace wellness committee consider reaching out to the active workplace health and safety committee member, which is on the intranet, which was updated on July 15, 2022, to who the 60 identified MCA employees and management are of the workplace health and safety committees. Maybe they can collectively sit down and play off each other to capture the whole, not just physical, mental, spiritual, mental health issues and whatnot, because it is a bigger thing out there than just those categories. Because if you happen to report to work every day and no policies in place, and somebody saying, but you will do this. Where's the new policy that was created that captures it because of this pandemic? A lot of things happen out there that's going to impact us as far as mental health and wellness. So,
Okay.
I want to recommend that.
Okay, thank you. For people who didn't hear, Cheryl was saying the workplace health and safety, mental health is part of that, and maybe the workplace wellness committee and the workplace health and safety committee can work together to address mental health. Philip?
So to go with the employees and vendors or whoever has been saved the last, say, 4 years or so. Council question I have would be, how many lawsuits have popped up in the last, say, 5 years against the organization? Regarding or something like that. We don't need to know details, just like numbers would be fine. As well as how much for legal fees, lawyers, and or settlement amounts have been paid out. Just so the community knows how much resources have been spent. The issues that whether or not anything is to blame, you don't need to know, but just an idea of ballpark of how many things have not done right.
I don't have an answer. I don't know of anyone at the table. So that's gonna have to be an action item for our September meeting, but we will look into that and get back to you. Because I don't think anyone knows that off the top of their head here.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
One last thing. Hold on. Go ahead, Jeff.
Now, just to clarify, you're saying the next general meeting is in September?
Yeah, we have an announcement number 11 on the,
So that being said, can we get an answer to the Enbridge update prior to, whether it be just in writing?
and-
and
and-
something?
yes.
September, okay.
Okay, back to Philip.
Last council, I had asked for a recommendation that there would be refreshments provided at general meetings, but unfortunately, that hasn't come to fruition. So now. Okay.
We got water, we have cupcakes.
Water and cupcakes.
I'll be there because I was gonna ask for a motion. Or- And it would actually come out of, maybe the whatever district we're in, those chiefs are the ones who chip in. And if there's a healthy competition between the districts as to who provides the better refreshments, preferably our local and not ones that promote park issues or events.
Yep, duly noted. So we do have a question. When will the drug banishment law be enforced?
I'll take that one. So it's not really a question of when will the law be enforced. The law is there, it can be enforced, it has to have the participation of the community. All laws do. Every law has to have the participation of the community, it has to be followed, it has to be abided by, It's hard to say, when is it gonna happen? It is happening, we may not see it, it may not be announced every day. Some things can't be announced. There may be an investigation going on right now that we're not aware of. But I can say that with the drugs and that is a community problem, and that is a problem that we need to all work together in trying to get around.
Joan?
When you said banishment, you have a drug banishment. Banishment, when you banish somebody from the community, would be something so horrific that somebody would be banished from the community.
I don't have an answer for you. I'm not familiar with that banishment law. I know that law has been in place for a while. I haven't seen it myself, but Julie, do you know?
Within the banishment law, there's a process, of course, there's a process with every law. And there's different levels, I'll say, as to how severity of how and how you get to the banishment part. It's not just you did one action wrong, boom, you're gone. It's a process. It has our, say it Robin, I'm gonna try you're gonna renew council is entwined in that, so that they have an opportunity to turn themselves around, bring themselves back on a good path. It has a number of steps. So to say what is the thing that would be so bad to banish someone, I don't have an answer to that, because each case is unique. Each case is specific to the person and to the situation around what may have happened. So I believe it's called, I'm gonna get this wrong. I can't remember if it's called the drug banishment law or if it's just the banishment law. I think it's a drug banishment law. I'd have to bring it up. But again, it does have a process within it, and that would be followed. So it's not just a one strike and you're out type of process.
It's interesting you say the drug banishment law as opposed to banishment, because drugs isn't always involved in horrific crime. So that's why I'm asking, like, how horrific would something have to happen for someone to be banished and taking their rights away from them 100%? Or is it just banished from the territory but maintain their membership but not live on the territory?
Again, I think that's involved in the process, so it would depend on the individual and what that crime wants in order to make that recommendation. I believe the recommendation comes from a community group, which is the WBA group, or one like that. So it would be a recommendation for them. So I can get more information on it for you, maybe. Yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah, it is very.
Because of the way you said it. It's
Yeah.
interesting, like,
Yeah, now I'm curious too, whether it's the drug banishment or if it's just banishment, so now I'm gonna find out.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson just stated that years ago in the past, he's witnessed past banishments of individuals that caused murder or hardship, and before cannabis became legal, they were even banished for selling cannabis in the territory to our people. That he's witnessed before, and again, this goes on the severity of the case of what Julie was talking about in the process that needs to be followed. It's gotten gentler, and a lot of it, from what I'm hearing on this discussion here today, is now the opportunity with the community members. Nukchi kikona diskutunyo kikona to Julie wa yako talaku kiko community members to review the severity of the case, and they decide. That's coming from the community also. So there is a process in place, but now go again out to Washington, the Australia white doctor, now to Wasat doctor, now to something. Now,
Just to give a little update to the question, it is the Akwesasne Banishment Law, but we also have an Akwesasne drug law, and that is pertaining mostly to prescription drugs. So just to clarify that, so we don't have to put it down as a action.
Okay, any more business from the floor? Okay.
She can forward. She can forward.
Oh,
Okay, he's asking that, we're all aware, council is aware of what's going on, the ongoings on Point Road with the, late, Louis Point estate, the late Percy Point estate, about, buried, family members, infants, you could, I guess you could say, that are buried there, that are not being respected, and they were asked to halt and to locate those graves prior to any construction going on over there, and yet construction started to go on over there. And now they're asking them to stop, locate the individuals, but it's pretty hard to find where they're located now, is because some equipment already went through there and disturbed the property, which they were trying to clean, so they were stopped again. And now the family feels that the way the land was acquired by council, that it was stolen, and they're asking for the lands to be returned back to the family. It's because the family grew up there, it's been in their family for generations, and they would like to keep it so. So they want to know what's, how this is going to be addressed.
Sarah?
My question is, who is currently on the property acquisition team of the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne? Are there any chiefs on the property acquisition team, or is it composition of all community members or employees?
There's myself, Chief Dooley Thompson, and Chief Edward Rollins.
Second follow-up question to that is, where are the monies, the property that was purchased from the territory, where did the monies come from? Is it community funds, is it out of programs or services, where's the monies coming from?
I think years past, there was, when this property acquisition team was formed, there was funds, I don't know where it generated from, but it's been allocated for this purpose, and it's still sitting there. Right now, it's been utilized in a minor sense, not real big purchase I've been having. When we do review request interest to sell.
What's the vetting process?
What's what?
The vetting process that who's established, who's purchasing properties that are being offered to us.
Well, there's a process where they review the property, make sure that it has has access right away. It's the right for owner selling the property. There's no conflicts or land disputes in the area. I don't know if there's an environmental study done on it, and also identifying what the land will be used for that we would be benefiting by purchasing. That's the basic concept that I'm aware of right now. But as anything else more in depth, I would have to have discussion.
Okay, so there's a big difference between concept and a sitting member of council being put on a committee and a set of written policy or procedures connecting you back to that committee that you should know, be aware of, because you're saying you're not even sure there's an environmental assessment that needs to be conducted in the purchasing of property. So Mr. David here is very concerned in the process involved, knowing there was potential ancestral burial sites on the property. Why would not due diligence have been done in even purchasing the property? If there's a burial, a possibility of burial, ancestral burial site being on a piece of land.
Well, as far as I know, Cheryl, I wasn't a part of council when that purchase happened. And right now that disclosure didn't come till later on when there was how would you say, a plan of development surfaced, and then the notification of some burials being in that property surfaced. That happened about 5 years ago. And there was an environmental assessment on that property prior to, it just wasn't completed. And that being said, our environmental division or department also had changeovers of employees and management at that time. So it must have got lost in the shuffle. I'm not aware, but things are being discussed now.
Thank you.
Just requesting that somebody read the letter that we just handed out so that all of the community members attending here today can hear this.
Yeah. Well, I think the rules of our personal.
Yeah. I'm comfortable.
I'll read it for the record if you want. Basically, asking.
Well, we're having discussions right now, and we're looking at this as it's kind of personal. And we don't know if it should be addressed here in an open forum. I don't know. I'm just asking it. And I just want you guys to know too, for the record, I'm in conflict on this. And I tried to step away. And again, I'm acting as a translator. You know, and I do sit on the property acquisition team, but this land was purchased prior to me getting on council.
So we got Jackie, Julie. And Jackie.
So. I know that we rely on OBS to make sure that there are no encumbrances on the land before purchase. Also, there are, it has to be in the right person's name. But there's another thing that happens here, that happens other places too, where sometimes people want to have their loved ones buried on their land.
And, those don't always get submitted so that we know where they are. And so in the future, when things like this happen, nobody knew that they were there. When you go to OBS to look at the land or anything like that, if they were marked out, and I'm gonna suggest that if anybody has that problem or that issue, or if their loved one's buried, then mark it out on the map that we have. So, you know, when we're not here anymore and our grandkids and great grandkids want to build somewhere, they'll know what's there. So that's one thing. It's unfortunate that this is happening right now. You know, I understand the frustration and the feelings involved in this. My grandparents have a cemetery on their, on their land. So it's a hard thing for us to resolve right now. We know that the PAC team makes every effort to make sure that the land is good and it's so, you know, I hope we can resolve this issue.
So just to make it clear, we mean no disrespect when we say that this is a personal matter. That's not our intention. This is a matter that has been worked on with the Grand Chief's office, with the family, with our ODS, with our DTS, everybody is working on this. So I don't want you to think that, you know, Mohawk Council is just, you know, turning a blind eye to it. They are working on this on each program. So when we say that, you know, we don't want to bring it is part of our rules that say that we won't bring personal matters to the table. We're willing to meet with you individually as a council, you know, if you would like. But I think that as far as this this item goes, we need to call on the rules of order and proceed.
So what makes it personal? Why are you saying it personal? Why is it personal?
It's a personal matter because it involves individuals and it involves a situation. That's what makes it personal. The way that
there's more than one, family. We're all part of the community.
Then we can meet with you individually for sure. Yeah.
We already know that.
So, church meeting's order. Is that personal? New York State Land Plans. Is that personal? All the stuff that's in here. Is that personal?
No. It's because of the graves that really is what makes it personal.
So it's okay to go without anybody's way.
Absolutely not.
Because we went through the construction crew stopped in. We told them the first day that it was raised, asked them to leave. They didn't leave. They came back to live. We told them to leave. Then our elders just telling them, we're going to pick up the graves and we're open.
I wasn't privy to any of this. I don't know what portfolio.
Well, he served when one of the graves were. And there was, they found remains, they found bodies. They found one, and we had the stack of tires. So they went over it. They cannot do nothing. That doesn't do an environmental assessment on all land on here. And you go and buy a property from a person, a young boy, young man that inherited it, taken away from the family. This is not Manhattan where they went and they purchased $24 beads and trinkets for land. Now look at Manhattan, they removed all the natives. Now Cornwall Island, they're gonna do the same thing. It's not Manhattan. We're not gonna allow it. I'm sorry, and that's what I have to say. I'm sorry, but it is a very emotional.
That's what makes it a personal.
And that's why we look at it as personal. I don't know the circumstances surrounding the transaction. I don't know any of that.
My husband went 3 times. He went and they said they would get back to him. Nobody got back to him. Spoke to Ann Seymour very kindly. I know I'm not a good speaker. He went to speak to her. She would get back to him. She never got back to him. He went all over. He's talking. Nobody's getting back to him. So we're here.
Okay.
And voicing the grievance for the community. It's going to happen not just to us, but other people. It's got to stop.
So to our knowledge, they have stopped any construction, or they are looking at remediating this. It's not something that is going forward at this time. They are trying to figure out what's going on and how we're going to move forward. It does have to be discussed between all the parties, Mohawk Council included, and your family as well. And then from there, we can, now what's got to happen isn't going to happen overnight. So your husband hasn't been got back to yet, but we have to wait for all the findings to come back first. And then we can come back with what's been found and what the next step's going to be. I don't know when you met with Ann, so I can't tell you how long it's been, but. Okay. Joanne's on DIHE, and I don't think they've gotten completed that yet, right?
Yeah, we are not in the Charmaine Caldwell, not yet. So nobody is in the telephone. Charmaine. We get to the Godon John, Papa, the Tavin, and that's all is Baba is the Danibo, Caprioya, and the way near the top. The Jacodon John, Papa, Abu Dadi, Tavin. We are thinking for leading info not the partner or something. The Diabo de look at what you're doing. The kid Diabo to join on that son and you are the Chidori. Not the Lodio target that you can
Okay, I have Emmy, then Joan. Emmy, you had your hand up, so I didn't know.
I was just listening to others. I mean, it's not a
Oh. No, wakati yeah.
E poi ogni tenore dopo, non solo le balloni, ogni altra non le balloni, ma di non dopo da non è sabile. Perché quello che di solo se di continuare da non fai ya, l'idea.
Oskaki waili wanoto sakoye wa waili wanoto tano lati atat on the nene gelo baksutta wa hona nene gelo sili wisaks tusa desani kuma tanu na ya was ahoni se ket kusane stunga na de ha no unka kwa ye ni huna tan ya dio ko kwa dio ko de yon ta chena a ju honi. You know, just no hope that they keep on the one the low. I feel that set out of respect. So they don't. We're going to teach them not there. I'm going to go watch it go like this. I'm going to 10 of 6 people. That's no who job they got set to 10. But you don't got the Sakudi law. Because you really want set to the ounce. Now, no. Now, also. Now, we're going to Wale. It's personal. So even though you're about to look up, hold on. Look up to your soul. Look up to the wax. Well, what watch the can talk to the guys who look different. Talk to ugly wish. And keep going, jog it, and guy, talk you what they own. How you won't talk to hard or Nino, talk to you on the road. Now, no more troubles. Keep continuing to do what I want. Bikini.
Get the media in here.
Toga. Guys, to know why, to be that's why. Yakini, Hakato. They cannot go Lord. We got conflict, you can't get. Wakati na onso. Eso wakati onda. Yakini kuchukunka ke Lord. Ine wakati la. There's other ways. There's other ways to settle this. There's other ways. Give the council and the department a chance to work and get the results that you're looking for. And hopefully there'll be a solution on this down the road. On the key. There's a key media. They say I didn't. I can't on that. Don't really walk. You know the walk down. The watch is a key along now.
Joan, then Sarah.
So listening to this, it seems like highly important situation. And as Jackie reported, OBS seems to be tied into this significantly. And also with the graves being in a backyard of a homestead. But nobody, we talk about drug laws, banishment, child laws, everything else. But the most important thing we don't talk about is when people lose a loved one, they want to, back then, as he said, they buried them on their family property. But there's no law in Akwesasne to say, yes, you can, no, you can't, or if you do, these are the laws. This is the process to follow. And this is the program that has to record all of this. Because as she said, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren aren't going to know where the markers are. Obviously, they know where the markers were. They knew that it's sacred land because our ancestors are buried there. But why is it not reported? And I'm sure there's a lot of other family graves in the community. Are they registered? Do we have a law that we can do that? Do we have a law that we can't do that? That's a very important law. Land is an important law. And what we do on our land is important. And how our government acquires land and what's on that land. But like if there's a history, then you stop until that history is written and you listen to the people that are carrying it, family. And if you can't, and you just want it for whatever the reason may be, okay, but really do the history on the land. There's a lot of history on every piece of property here in Akwesasne because before we were born, there is history here. And the oral history of our people have that history and it's brought down and we just have to listen to it. Whether we like it or whether we don't like it, it is still the history of the land. So he has a very valid point, and emotion, is it personal? In the whole, looking at the whole pie, a quarter of it is personal, yes, because it involves a chief and family. Yes, that quarter piece is personal, but the other 3/4 is not, because it's a land, it's acquisition, and it's destruction of what is underneath and what was done to that land years ago. So no, it's not personal because it could affect somebody in this room. And so does it go to our court system to resolve? Does he have to get a lawyer? Does he go there, or does it go to just exclude Vince out of the equation because he's directly involved in it? But does it go to somebody else that has a personal interest to make things right, to understand it, or just to make a statement? So my thing is, yes, it's personal, a small part of it is, but the rest of it, people in the community have to be aware. These situations will happen. And no, it's not personal. He's bringing it because it's a situation, like he said, will happen, not like she said, it's happening to us right now, but you don't know when or if it'll ever happen to somebody else. So how do we address it? How do we look at it? And there's never going to be an easy solution to it because it doesn't only involve today, as we briefly involved the death of somebody years ago.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, for one, Joan, it wasn't known. It wasn't known, it wasn't marked. It was just informed on, like I said earlier, when the planning and the development stage came in. There was only one elder in my family that bring it to our attention. That says something's got to be done over there because I know this. It was only until the development started to happen that this came to the younger generation's attention. As a little boy, I didn't know. I didn't know what was there. Played there all the time. You know, and that's why it's kind of the way it is.
But it's still.
I understand. We talked about it. I explained in Mohawk that our families have to log and report. And let the younger generation know where these burials are, if there's any of this nature.
Well, what you say it should be loggable, yes.
The family should know, so when they're trying to sell the land, they can actually pinpoint out nowhere where the graves are. We're not to be disturbed, not to be touched, not to be protected. But we didn't have that. So that's why the search had to go on. It had to be found. Everybody had a general idea, but nobody knew exactly.
So going forward, now in this day and age, it's still happening. So should it not be logged with OPS?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what we
that's
said
what we're saying.
earlier. When the discussion was going on in Mohawk, that's what we're all talking about.
Well, I'm
That's
sorry,
why
I
it's
don't understand Mohawk, but it would have been nice to explain to us what you were saying.
Just answering the people that were talking to me in Mohawk, that's what I was saying.
So that's something we can take note of and work towards. And to the family, and no, we're not insensitive to this. We did call everything, and we just need our time to give our teams the time and energy and research to come to a conclusion and find out all the facts. It was meant as no disrespect. Again, we just found out about it ourselves, and some of us who are new to council like myself, I didn't hear about it till probably 2 months ago when it came to the forefront. So we are working on it, and as we get answers, we'll get back in touch with you. And like Vince said, hopefully we can sit down and come to a peaceful resolution. I don't think it needs to blow up. I don't think it needs to be in the media. I think we're all capable of sitting down and trying to figure this out to satisfy everybody. So we go, Cheryl.
So one of the most obvious reasons people come to these meetings is when their frustration level is at the top. So if a person comes to a meeting to put an issue in the rest of the community, potentially be impacted by the situation, I don't believe it stays in the personal category, right? Like the way Joe explained it, she explained it perfectly. Quarter of the pie is personal, 75% relates to what would happen in the future. So the question is, why is it taking so long when for 2 years, people, when this property was purchased, it's gotta be probably 2 years ago, right, or more, 7 years ago. Just because it was a pandemic shouldn't have stopped anybody from continuing to do their jobs into whatever was being presented and things like that. And I don't think it's fair that Vince has to answer everything because he is sitting there in conflict of interest to the whole situation. It's not fair for any of us to have him be the speaker of the council at the time and have to have him justify where he's caught up in it also. We have another Mohawk speaker as a chief on council that could very easily, as a portfolio holder, address the community in the language and then translate back into English also. I think it's very unfair to have been sitting there in a position in conflict of having to be, I'm sorry to use the term, but of the mouthpiece for council right now. You know? So what do we do when it comes to the service side of things? And there where the problem lies, the timeframes of how long things are taking. Is there not a process to expedite things that it stops the potential from leading to this, of having to get frustrated to the point of going to the media while the property's still being bulldozed over, knowing that there's potential for great burial sites to exist on a piece of land? This has to be reviewed in the policy side of things also.
So to my understanding, the work stoppage is already done. So there's no work going on. And it was just brought to our attention within the last 2 months. And that's when we asked for the review and history and those things. So when you're talking about, and I can't tell you when these people were buried, But if Vince is saying only one elder remembers, we have to go back all these years and try to figure out who and where. So it's not something that you do overnight. It's not something that was logged somewhere. It's not something we can look up. We have to give them, I understand that.
Vince says he only remembers one elder. What's the process to speak to other elders in the community about the situation? Because my mother's 88 years old, and grew up across the road, remembers a lot of things to say about Point family property. Nobody ever got to ask her probably anything what she recalls of the property. There's a lot of elders on Point Island right now that may have a recollection. So reviewing policy and process to speed up some of this stuff, is all I'm saying, needs to be looked at.
Right. Okay. Noted.
I just, my question was more piggybacks off what Cheryl just said was, I just wanted to offer a suggestion that Vince wasn't the one answering these questions right now due to the conflict of interest, that other chiefs also took the opportunity to speak up to this matter. Just because in that sense, that's what it does to cause that, that extra conflict, and it makes the family feel like it's more of a, not so much as a conversation, but more of a challenge to be heard. But because at the end of the day, I believe they're here to be heard. And they want their voices to be heard. They want their family to be respected. They want the funds to be respected. So I think going forward, I think that's really important. Like the suggestion, like Cheryl said, that Vince, no disrespect to anybody, but he just doesn't speak to this matter. Because again, there's other individuals who speak really well up there that can translate and can speak to the matter. So I just wanted to offer that suggestion, but also instead of like continuously, like I feel like we're kind of skating around the topic and we're not really getting anywhere with any kind of solution or suggestion as to how you guys are going to move forward with this matter. We kind of just keep skating around it. So going forward, how do you intend on addressing this matter and to, bringing everything to a table to be able to come to some sort of agreement?
So until our teams are done gathering their information, we're kind of just sitting and waiting. So we're just trusting our teams to talk to whoever they need to talk to. And I don't know, I'm not privy to that, so I don't know who they're talking with, but it's just, we're waiting to see what they're gonna bring back to us.
In the meantime, is there
Archaeologists are still in there. Ready to stop.
Okay. Cheryl? Cheryl, did you have? Oh, no, okay. Oh, Philip? That's something, Philip, we're gonna have to action item.
Because I know in the past, there was hoping to move it to a larger firm to handle all the legal issues, but then we keep on going out of small sole professionals. And they seem to be taking on a lot.
Okay, it is 10 after 8, so I'm gonna close business from the floor. Next, we have a council resolution to accept the general meeting minutes from April 28, 2002. I need a mover. Looks like Ryan and Vince. All in favor? Any against? Yeah. Yeah. So all in favor, sorry. Okay, none against, carried. So we do have an announcement, as per past council practice. There's no July and August general meeting. The next general meeting will be held September 22nd, 2022 at the Gawanoga Recreation Center. However, you can reach anyone on council at admin 1. Motion to adjourn. Julie and Vince. All in favor? Carried.